Thanks to today's sponsor, PDF Element by Wondershare. PDF Element is an all-in-one smart PDF editor which offers the easiest way to edit PDF documents. From text to images, links, pages, watermarks, backgrounds, headers, and footers, it's a great tool to maximize your document productivity. Create PDFs by selecting files of various Microsoft Office formats from your computer, or simply drag and drop the documents right into PDF Element. You can also create your own PDFs from scratch. You can edit pre-existing PDF files to add signatures to documents to eliminate the need for your clients to print and scan signed pages. PDF Element also comes with optical character recognition software that works with a scanner to generate digital files that can be searched for words, phrases, or even convert a pre-existing PDF to an editable file. So thanks to Wondershare and their PDF Element software for sponsoring this video. You can check them out in the link in the description and save up to 50% on this feature-packed alternative to Adobe Acrobat. Hi there, I'm Timmy Joe. Ouch! Ow, it bit me. Hi there, I'm Timmy Joe. I make videos about computers on the internet, and today on the program, I shouldn't be flipping graphics cards. This is actually a friend of mine, Tyler, just loves to give me old weird stuff, and this is by far one of the coolest. This is the coolest. Ouch! I made myself bleed. One of the coolest graphics cards that's ever made me bleed. It's over and engineered. It is awesomely cool, and it doesn't look that special until you really start to get into it. It's the 9800 GX2. This is a card from about 10 years ago, and I wonder what that GX2 moniker means. Well, we've looked at a processor, computer graphics card like that before. This thing here is a 7950 GX2, and I mean, there's definitely something up with this thing. If you haven't seen the video, there's a link in the thingy. But this is, kind of old, not really in the league of what we're talking about here, but the GX2 means it's got two graphics cards literally sandwiched together in SLI. But does this thing have that? Well, of course it does if it has that GX2 name. And we can look at it here. It is a pretty substantially, beefy card. It's got an all-metal shroud around the whole graphics card. It looks a lot like the 200 series, and there was some 800s that look like this. But it's very special, okay? Let's talk about how it's constructed. Essentially, I've taken it apart, and it even overclocks kind of well, but before I made sure it worked, and, I could tell that it was getting pretty hot, so let's change the thermal paste on it. So we got it all apart, and that is the most interesting way to put two graphics cards together. Like, there are lots of dual GPU solutions where they put two GPUs on one PCB. This is two PCBs, two graphics processing units, and it's just incredible the way they sandwich them together. So there's one on the outside, one on the inside of the card, and the sandwich between them is a heat sink that provides cooling for both, with pass-through fins that allow the blower to intake from either side and sort of from the back, actually vent air out the top of the card and out the side of the card, so it's not a traditional blower. There's literally a hole through the PCB to allow that fan to take out all that heat. So it's very interesting. It's super over-engineered. I guarantee they lost money on that because there's no way enough people bought them that it was worth the R&D to put into that. And I don't think that it was ever used again. Let me know if I'm wrong, but all the dual GPU solutions after that were all on the same PCB, I believe. Like if you're talking like the 200 series and stuff like that, going on into the 590 and stuff like that. I don't think that was ever used again, and it's a really cool way of doing it because it actually cools both GPUs fairly decently, even with a blower model. It's pretty interesting. So you have it all apart, and there's lots of screws, but it's not too hard to take apart, and you can see that basically it's two graphics cards with little SLI connectors inside that allow the graphics cards to communicate. And that actually allowed for a lot better GPU scaling than simple SLI at the time anyways, according to the research I've done on the card. So what are the specs? Boop. Yeah, that's right. It's got 256 CUDA cores, but it's lying because it's really only got 128 per GPU. We're in the thousands of CUDA cores now. So this thing definitely is showing its age a bit. 128. It's got a 600 megahertz core clock. I mean, we're in the 2000s now. So yeah, it's got a 1500 megahertz processor clock or shader clock. Texture fill rate of 1.5 billion, 76.8 billion. A memory clock of 1000 megahertz and a memory interface bandwidth of 512 bit, but I'm sure you cut that in half. And then a memory bandwidth of 128 gigabytes per second or 64. And we're like way far beyond that. We're in the terabytes now, with Radeon 7 and stuff like that. So this supports only OpenGL 2.1 or maybe further. Who knows if this is accurate? Maybe driver updates were done, but it definitely only supports DirectX 10.1. So there's no playing any modern titles on this thing unless they support DirectX 10 or below. You can also put 2 of these in quad fire, I wanted to say, in quad SLI. And a maximum resolution of 2560 by 1600. So this thing came out March of 2008, and at the time it would have definitely been the fastest GPU out there. And I'm still bleeding. Would have definitely been the fastest GPU out there. The ATI, I don't think I could touch them with their like 3870 or 90X2 graphics card. This would have been like very expensive, actually, somewhere in the area of $599. And if we look, it has the G92 core, and that's actually used all the way back to the 8800 GTS. It's the same process as the 8800 GTX and Ultra, but they shrunk it down from 90 to 65 nanometer, and of course that made it more efficient and what have you. It came out actually before the 9800 GTX Plus, and before the 9800 GTX. So this thing was like pretty fast for the time, but things quickly escalated. A couple years later was Fermi, and that was, next level compared to this stuff, even if it was like the hottest GPU ever. So I've got Tech Power up here, just an article from the time that did a nice review on it, and of course, loads of GPU power, great overclocking headroom, which we'll talk about in just a second. It had low 3D power consumption, innovative fan and cooler, that is for sure. Apparently it was quiet, which is weird that they said that. It's actually sort of quiet. And almost 100% scaling in many benchmarks at high resolutions, sexy industrial design, HDMI, and it's got PCI Express 2.0 support. Downside is it's expensive, $599. Uses the same G92 GPU, whatever. It's got 2 of them. Performance gains only over 1600 by 1200. Yeah, that resolution. And it comes with reference clocks, high idle power consumption. Yeah, because it doesn't really have any power states. It's just running 600 megahertz the whole time. But I was able to overclock this thing and get some decent results, especially once I changed the thermal paste. I could get 120 megahertz overclock. That's over 20%. For sure, and another 100 megahertz on the memory. So this thing, unlike most dual GPU solutions, it could actually overclock, even with this stock cooler. 100 megahertz, that's awesome. It probably shows that these graphics, chips were binned fairly well for this thing. And it's sexy, it's heavy, it feels like well made. Taking it apart, there wasn't any plastic breaking off. You can even, take this little cover off and put it in SLI. There's an SLI finger there. And it takes a 8 and 6 pin power connector. So you want to know how it does in some games? Well, I did 5 games. So let's check out some gameplay, and then we come back, we'll do a little finish off. look. There we go. So, yeah, not too many games. It's just more of a look back and a retro thing than anything. But let's start with the period-appropriate games. It kills Crysis. I've never seen a graphics card do this well at 1080p in Crysis on high. 45 frames a second. 1080p on high, that's awesome. Some of that, like, it didn't have lots of anti-aliasing on and stuff like that, but still, for resolutions of the time, more like 1200 by what, or 1026 by 768. That's what a lot of people are having to run Crysis on. This thing would have been like next level. If this is the thing, where they say, can it play Crysis? This is about the only card you could say, heck yes, it can, in 2008. And then, the Tomb Raider remake, that's from a couple of years later, and it still performed admirably. You could play on high settings at 1080p, and the only problem was there was some wind, on the screen, like the big clouds of like fog rolling through. It kind of slowed down, but it did really well on the benchmark anyways. Played Dirt 3 like an absolute champion, all the settings maxed at 1080p, and it would get like 70 frames a second, as you saw. But newer games, SLI, not so much. Grand Theft Auto, this is a good card to run Grand Theft Auto. Like, it supports the APIs from before that because of the original Xbox and stuff like that, having to play it. And it didn't do too well because the SLI wouldn't work. And you could force SLI to work by going and making it alternate priority mode or rendering mode. And there's two options you can do to do that. And yes, it would split the frames between both GPUs, but they would only get utilized about 50%, and then the FPS wouldn't be as good as just the one single card. But this would play Grand Theft Auto like 30 frames a second, 1080p on the lowest settings, with just one of these cards working. Same with Fortnite. Sort of playable, 1080p in Fortnite on low settings, and then if you put the SLI mode on and actually got it to use both GPUs, it just didn't work very well. But still, such a very, very cool card, and I'm extremely impressed with it. It's over-engineered. I'm surprised we never saw another graphics card like it. If there ever was one like this, another GX2, let me know. I looked through, I couldn't see that this was ever done again. So this is a marvel of engineering, and they probably put a load of R&D into it and then never got the return on it because I think they're kind of rare at this point. And then of course card speeds started tripling every couple of years after that, so it was quickly obsoleted. But I'm surprised at the performance it can do today, and I think I'm most happy about the HDMI that's on it because it was no fooling just plug it into my capture card and go. So I'm at Watch Timmy Joe, Instagram and Twitter. This has been a little tale of the 9800 GX2, a very cool card, probably taking the top spot on my retro favorite cards list. I know that more stuff like this is considered retro, but we're getting there. And GX2, two cards sandwiched together. Who'd have thunk that would actually perform well, overclock, have decent cooling? Not bad at all. So, thanks to our sponsor, PDF Element. It's a pretty awesome PDF software. It literally lets you scan in documents and start editing it does character recognition. I was blown away by how good it worked, too. I even just put in a motherboard when I was doing the ad, a motherboard PDF for the manual, and it scanned it through, and then you could, go copy-paste items out of it. That's I guess Acrobat does that, but this thing's way cheaper than that, so that's pretty cool. And of course, I have a Patreon, which would help the advertisements stay down on the channel. It's like $1 or $2 a month. Go help out. There's 60 of you that are already doing it. $300 a month. It'd be cool to get that even higher, so we can buy more stuff like this on eBay. But I'm at Watch Timmy Joe, Instagram and Twitter, and I want to thank you for coming along with the ride on the 9800 GX2. I had a load of fun playing with it, and just thanks Tyler for letting me borrow it. I was really blown away by how well it worked, considering its age. Never had that happen. And I do have some other dual GPU cards we could look at. There's an GTX 295. If you want to see this, which should do much better. This doesn't even have HDMI on it. Let me know in the comments if you want to see this thing. I don't think I've reviewed it yet, and it's a pretty cool piece of kit. So I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. I'm going to take this and go wipe the blood off of it.